law in 2011, all transactions are done before a notary, and all notaries in Cuba are lawyers. And this guy, he was born in Guantanamo. He moved to Madrid for a while because he was married to someone from Spain. But after a few interesting events that we can go into later, he decided that he was going to leave Spain, and he missed the street, he told me, and he missed his people. So he came back to Cuba. He, as a lawyer, he got a job with the Vivienda, with the housing office, and he is someone that's very proud to talk about the history of the Cuban Civil Code and its Roman legacy. At the same time, he's someone that you see with very flashy clothes. He also wears lots of gold chains and a big fancy watch with studs in it. Interesting part about this is that he is positioned at probably the most lucrative place in this new hybrid market, at the intersection between a formal and an informal system. He told me regularly, el que hace la ley hace la trampa. And in this case, la trampa, the new trick, is a new change in the law that has expanded the number of eligible people to receive a property donation. And for a long time, we all know there's been small-scale corruption or manipulation of laws in order to make transactions happen. But right now, what is happening is through this ability to have donations at a much lower tax rate, the property lawyer and notary can declare a donation even if he knows that there is a sale or a swap occurring. And at that point, the taxable base is lowered to an official state rate in Cuban pesos as opposed to in whatever the actual compensation is. So the people that are buying and selling are effectively saving 4 to 8% of their transaction cost. Where does that go? Most of that's going to go right back into this property lawyer. He actually, in an interesting turn of events, he's told me that he has bought 6 houses and given them to his family members and friends, which we all know is illegal as well. But it's one of these interesting inventos. So quickly, the official changes here. After the lineamientos came out in 2011, the Decree Law 288 actually came through and changed the transaction system. One of the other important things to note is that now all of the payments are officially supposed to go through the Cuban National Bank electronically, which could present problems because most people in Cuba do not have bank accounts. Now, what I really want to get to quickly is the ideologies that are underlying this and what this is an exponent of, perhaps in a greater sense. People have viewed the socialist project in Cuba as a modern utopia for a long time. But is there really a dualism between this state utopia and a free market capitalism on the streets in Havana today? Sort of. I would argue that there are distinct narratives present, and people will talk about them all the time. People will say, I believe that if I had free access to the market, I would be able to get great things. Or there are people like Rocky, the property lawyer, who say, well, I have a stable state job, and I believe in the provenance of this legal code, so I want to continue that. But in late socialist Havana, people are taking these almost in an a la carte way. The doble moral, as many of us know, is something it's a code switching of ideologies. You can say one thing and the other at the same time that are opposing. So how is this actually possible if we look at ideologies as totalizing visions, as these singular ideas? Well, what I would posit is that today, the belief in that state socialist narrative for people on the ground participating in the property sector today are what Jean Baudrillard called a simulation. And the postmodern theory says that a This is a signifier with no reference, saying that, and in this case, that means the true belief might not be there, but nevertheless, it is still available. So the true belief isn't there, but people still act on the belief. And also what he talks about is what's called a simulacrum. And the simulacrum in this case is the Cuban bureaucracy. And the simulacrum means that the best way to describe this is the fake holdup of a bank. And if I go in to rob a bank and I take a fake gun, ostensibly the reaction will be the same, and people will still be afraid of the fake gun even though it wasn't real. So understanding that while the bureaucracy might not have those true beliefs behind it of the people that are working for it, like Rocky the property lawyer, it still manages to produce profound frustration and difficulty for Cubans in this process. So, in summary, 2011 November, Decree Law 288 authorizes swaps with compensation and outright sales with no price limits, even in convertible currency. Each party is now paying, theoretically, 4% of the taxable base value of those properties. Compensation is to be paid through the Cuban Central Bank. The expansion of the donation option has opened up loopholes in this law. And this is an example of how I would really say that this change in law and increased formalization of buying and selling has really not curtailed informal market activity. In fact, it may have even expanded it. I also say that the actors in this market can be viewed through a utopian narrative lens because there's discussion about it all the time. But they're also creating interdependence. Each one of these people, that is, say, a free market capitalist, also needs the state socialist system right now more than ever. So, late socialism today is marked by a full hybridization and really a weakening of these two narratives. And with that, I thank you.